Welcome to Zen Footsteps. My podcast is designed to invite you to explore new perspectives and challenge the way you see the world. Through engaging conversations with thought-provoking guests, we're going to delve into the idea that you can transform your thinking and inspire personal growth. From redefining success to uncovering unconventional paths to fulfillment, each episode is a step towards expanding your mind and embracing the journey of discovery. So join us as we walk alongside innovators, thinkers, and change makers who can help you see life in a whole new light. Hi, and welcome to another amazing episode of Zen Footsteps. I'm very pleased to introduce somebody that I know professionally and personally, and that is Nina Flintham. Sorry, I always get the pronunciation of that wrong. So Nina is a trauma-informed wellbeing practitioner, and she's based in Crowborough, East Sussex. That's where, by the way, where Arthur Conan Doyle used to live, who wrote Sherlock Holmes. She specializes in nervous system regulation and breath-led healing. I'll get her to explain a little bit more about that. A certified TRE Provider, conscious connecting to breathwork practitioner, and also Oxygen Advantage. She instructs people and supports them through stress, burnout, trauma, chronic pain, and also performance goals with evidence-based body central tools. I'm really into that, the whole kind of evidence-based, as you know. So drawing on professional training and her own lived and lived experience in grief and trauma, and also IVF, Nina offers compassionate, practical sessions online and in person too, by the way, helping clients and organizations to build a safe environment, resilience, and ease. Nina, welcome. A lot of that I don't understand. I have to be honest. So tell me, TRE, explain what that is.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me.
That's okay, pleasure.
So TRE, it stands for Trauma and Tension Release Exercises. It's a somatic modality, and it works on the body's, or we use the body's natural shaking mechanism. So I don't know if you've ever seen David Attenborough programs where we see animals in the wild, or if you have a dog. But when they go through traumatic situations, an overload, you will actually see them in the wild as well, especially animals that are in the wild. They will physically shake. What that's doing is discharging any of the stress hormones and things that they're holding into the body from that experience. And naturally, and it's a very, very primal thing, the body is naturally bringing itself back into a state of balance. So TRE is kind of based on that. We work with the body's natural shaking mechanism. We have a number of exercises that we would do beforehand, just to really get the body waking up, the muscles talking to each other, and then inviting the body to have a little shake. So it's amazing. It's amazing for stress relief, deep-rooted tension that we're holding in the muscles, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, fibromyalgia. It's a wonderful, wonderful modality.
Yeah, it's a great. You talked about fibromyalgia and mentioned that in there because I get a lot of fibromyalgia patients, and I mean, I personally believe a lot of it's rooted in stress. So, how did you? Was this always your background in health, or how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I've always, from a very early age, been interested in health, well-being, and as I got older, looking at ways to optimize my own health. I was actually introduced, I would say, to breath work probably 14 years ago. Well, it's about 14 years ago after my dad passed away. And breath work as a whole, more of the transformational breath work, which we can come on to a little bit later. But for me, it was just life-changing. Working with what we are holding onto in the body, and that's what we do with somatic practices, without the need for words to talk about a situation, or it can be an accumulative number of things. It's so powerful. So we're working with the nervous system, we're working with the body, we're working with each individual. So for me, that was my first introduction into breath work. And continued my own personal practice for many years. And then I thought, God, I'm constantly talking about breath work. I can see the benefits in myself. Why aren't I doing this as a job? So I started out as a conscious connected breathwork practitioner. So that works with what we're holding on to in the body. As you know now, there's tons and tons of research that proves that it's not just the brain that is the memory bank. We hold so much in our bodies. So that is about releasing what we're holding on to. And then that's how I got into that and saw the benefits again with a lot of clients that I started working with. And then decided that the missing link for me, you can have these big transformational sessions, but if you are not learning how to breathe properly every day, how to optimize your health, or how to optimize your breath for your physical, your mental, your emotional health, you're getting knocked about left, right, and center with external pressures that are coming on. So functional breathing looks at how you breathe each day, and we re-educate, we retrain the breath. The breath is the quickest way to influence our nervous system, and we breathe 24,000 times a day. So if you're doing anything that much, it's kind of worthwhile seeing if you're doing it properly. So they're the two different forms of breath work.
Okay.
And then for me, as you know, I struggled with chronic pain and chronic fatigue for many years. A lot of it trauma related, certainly stress related. And I came across TRE and gave it a go myself and just thought, oh man, this is amazing. So not only is it beneficial on its own, but it can be used in conjunction with those other modalities as well. So that's kind of a bit of a snapshot of my journey and how I ended up here.
And so do you find that with a lot of people, because when I look at a lot of patients that come to me, one of the things I notice is that they're constantly chest breathing as opposed to tummy breathing. So without me explaining that, can you explain a little bit about the two types of breathing, what they're called, and why we get stuck into this wrong type of breathing?
Yeah, so really good question. And that's the case with a lot of people. So I don't know if you've ever looked at a baby breathe. You know, they come into this world, they've got this beautiful rhythmical belly breathing. And as we go through life, it can be things that are happening to us. It can be well-meaning comments. It can be stresses. That can be at school. That can be in the workplace, family problems. It all has an effect on our breath. So where we come into the world with this beautiful and again, very primal belly breathing, that beautiful expansion, slowly what can happen over time is we start seeing, as you mentioned, people breathing into the chest that bit more, and breathing in what we would say a dysfunctional way is. So a dysfunctional breath, typically mouth breathing, as we've touched on, chest breathing. So breathing high into the chest, breathing too much, so taking too many breaths per minute, which actually has the opposite effect of getting more oxygen in. Actually, we're kind of in that constant hyper-aroused state. Breathing too rapidly, breathing through the mouth, breathing too many breaths per minute. Snoring is a big one. Sleep apnea is a huge number of people that I work with that are struggling with that. So all of those, points lead to a dysfunctional breathing pattern. So what we look at doing with functional breathing is re-educating that. So what does it mean to breathe low into the belly? What does it mean to breathe in more of a diaphragmatic way? For most people, if they read the books and it's this is how we should be breathing, but the reality is going from a very dysfunctional breathing pattern to just being able to read a book and breathe in the way that it's advising is hugely difficult, because it can feel alien if somebody's been breathing in a dysfunctional way for all of their lives. And actually, I've worked with a couple of people recently who have actually got breathing anxiety. So they read the books, they listen to the podcasts, they're like, why on earth can't I do this? So it then increases anxiety around the breath. So yeah, the good thing is, though, with functional breathing and then working more on the emotional side of things and the things we're holding onto the body, you can see the results really, really quickly.
Yeah, because when people come to me and I say, as you know this better than I really, but I get them to breathe and I say breathe in, what I notice is that what they do is they breathe in, the tummy goes in instead of out. And often I had to get their hand and say, look, put it on my tummy. Or I'll say, go home and put a really big book on your stomach. And as you breathe in, let it go up. But it's incredible how many people, I just can't do that. They're stuck in this fight or flight constantly. And is there something which you do that sort of, is it just about repetition to re-educate the brain?
So to your point about when you're saying for somebody to breathe in and they're sucking their belly in, that was my partner when I first met him. Like, you're breathing completely the wrong way around. So what we would do, each person is completely individual. So we would look at how they are breathing day to day. We would then look at kind of this is the optimum way to breathe, and this is how we're going to get there. So typically when we look at breathing every day, and the breath is the quickest way to influence our nervous system, the most effective way to influence our nervous system. So if we're doing it well and we're doing it in a way that optimizes our physical, our mental, our emotional health, when these stressors come along, we can deal with them. We're that little bit more resilient. We can pendulate between the active part of our nervous system, the sympathetic, and the more relaxing part, the parasympathetic. So what we would do, we break the breath down into 3 different components, really. So the biomechanics, so that's where we're breathing into the body. So teaching them how to breathe in a diaphragmatic way. But with some people, we have to move so slowly, because not only does it feel completely alien to them, but we're working that diaphragm muscle. It's like we would go to the gym or do yoga to work our muscles. We don't get taught that about the diaphragm. So it's working slowly in a way that supports their nervous system, so they don't feel overloaded, because a lot of the people that will come to me are already in, and people that come to you, I'm sure, in that fight, flight, stuck up here. So we move really gently. So yeah, it's the biomechanics, so where we're breathing. The biochemistry, so that's our relationship between carbon dioxide and oxygen. As I mentioned before, a lot of people breathe too much, take too many breaths per minute, which is having the opposite effect on getting the oxygen where it needs to go to. So in an ideal world, we would be looking at around 6 breaths per minute. So that can feel head spinning for a lot of people. But yeah, so breathing less, breathing low, breathing slow, breathing through the nose as well, and just focusing on those areas, but breaking them down into small, manageable chunks, just so people can, get the most out of their breath, and then they're able to, tackle all of these external stresses, the internal stresses that come along far easier.
And is there a sort of age? I mean, I remember when my kids were little, and you always rushing in to see whether they're alive. Are they breathing? Are they breathing? Any good parent does that. But is there an age that you would say that we start to? Is it consciousness, awareness, and stress environment that switch starts to happen?
It can be any time, really. I mean, well, even if children are non-verbal, they are picking up on environmental stresses. So let's say if you were in a highly volatile family setting, caregivers, parents, you are already, even though you're not able to verbalize it, taking on those things. So at that point, it can affect the breathing pattern. And then we look, as we go into schools, schools can be wonderful, wonderful places. Child friendships can be wonderful places. But those sort of things, maybe feeling a little bit left out, the dynamics that come with different friendship groups, that can be different, and that can affect our breathing pattern as well. So yeah, I mean, it's huge. And the good thing on the school tip, they are now bringing breath work into schools, which is incredible. If you can teach your children or your child how to tackle these big feelings, these big emotions, the sensations in their body, and connecting them so they're more embodied at a young age, the impact that will have, the positive impact that will have on their nervous system, on their mental health, their physical health is huge. So there's the school Breathe program. They're doing wonderful things across the country, bringing breathwork into schools.
Is that nationwide then?
It's nationwide, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. I mean, I think even
Amazing.
sort of yoga and meditation have been seen in schools too. So, what do you think happens? Because when I work with people, I work two ways, and you could rightly wrong me, but explain to me what's happening. So sometimes I'll get somebody in and I'll get them to breathe very quickly, almost to exhaust. You know what I mean? Almost like you're running out of fuel, and then I'll get them into a really slow somatic breathing. But what I have noticed with the majority of times I do that is it elicits tears and crying and emotion. What's going on there?
Yeah, so the breath is hugely powerful. So when we work on, well, it can be as simple as just getting somebody to slow down the breath, hands on heart, hands on belly, and that connection. What happens to so many people is, and you probably see it in your practice, I would say, we've become so disconnected from our bodies. So that can be physical pain that we're in, emotional pain, trauma for a better word. So even that simple act of connecting with the breath and the person that you are now, connecting with these maybe uncomfortable feelings that we've blocked out for a while, that can be huge. But when we look and we breathe, and this is what we do in conscious connected breath work, it works, the way it works is we do this rhythmical breathing, this circular breathing. So there's not any pauses within our inhale to our exhale. We're not ever hyperventilating, but when we do this, you can feel the benefits, after a couple of minutes. But when we do conscious connected breathwork sessions, which typically we might be breathing for 45 to 55 minutes, something like that. Within that setting, we actually go through different brainwave states, just doing this circular breathing pattern. And when this happens, at certain points, we might have our frontal lobe, our thinking part, our rational part, the part of our, us that 99% of us are in most of the time, that checks out. So when that checks out, that is when we can experience the emotions. Memories and things can come up that we haven't thought about in forever. Some, might seem completely irrelevant, but that's when the real transformation happens. And that can be quite hard for people to get their head around if they've never experienced a type of breath work like this. But as you know, the breath is so powerful. And with each individual person, it might be, as you've said there, literally just getting them to connect to the breath, or as we see it a lot in yoga, and as women as well, a lot of tightness. We hold a lot of tightness in our hips. So actually doing hip opening stretches or encouraging the breath to go lower into our pelvis. Yeah, there can often be a lot of emotion and suppressed emotions that we hold in there as well.
Because people always apologize when they start crying. They go, "Oh, I don't know what happened to me. I'm so sorry. I don't know why." And I don't know whether it's a very British thing that we apologize.
I think it's a very British thing, but I also think for a lot of people, if they're not expecting it, it can be quite a vulnerable thing. So we go back to that. Oh God, so I'm so sorry, because you're maybe concerned that you're inconveniencing the other person, that you're making them feel uncomfortable. But as we know, when we work with the body in these different ways, anything can come up. Every person is different. Every experience is totally different. But suppressing emotions, suppressing grief, suppressing and drawing on all these limiting beliefs and things, when we store it in the body can only take so much. And it gets to this point where, your body might be giving you little signals that, oh, a bit of a niggle here, or God, I'm feeling a little bit more anxious than I have been. And as I know, because it's happened to me for many years, I was like, oh no, I'm too busy to listen to these signals that my body's telling me. So the signals get louder and louder and louder until you're forced to go, oh, okay, right, I've got to do something about this then. So the body has a wonderful way of showing us and telling us what's going on, but often we're so disconnected and busy to fully kind of connect with what is happening. And again, that can feel quite vulnerable, because often when we're experiencing these things, it's, oh, okay, now I need to take action. I need to do something about this. But I think when we're looking at chronic pain, chronic fatigue, often at the root of that is a dysfunction or an imbalanced nervous system, trauma, stress that we've been holding on to. So working somatically without the need for words. I mean, talking therapy is wonderful, and there's, I'm a big believer in it, but sometimes we don't need words, and sometimes we can't feel words. We don't know why we're feeling like we are. We just feel rubbish. So somatic practices help us work with the nervous system, work with the body to release emotions and things that we're holding on to, without the need to talk about what's happened to you, although that inevitably does come out, but you don't need to.
I think it's quite primal, isn't it? It's because I was sort of thinking, if we all have trauma on a daily basis, but we're not aware of it, like you say, we ignore it. Do you think it's possible to be trauma informed in connection to the breath in the moment, or do you think it has a possibility for the trauma to sabotage us and then reflectively look back and look at our breath?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So I think unless you have done some work with the breath, so I've worked with a lady yesterday, and she openly admits that she disassociates. So when there's any stressor that comes on board, her way of coping is she just floats off, and that's her way of dealing with things. But that's only come to light quite recently. So for somebody like that, having enough awareness initially to go, oh yeah, my breath was actually really high in my chest, or oh God, I was mouth breathing. I can bring the awareness to that whilst I'm in that stressful situation, and we can support our nervous system to move through these difficult feelings and sensations. Often what it is, it only comes to light once they've had a session, a few sessions, once I've put together a bespoke home care plan for them, and slowly, because the biggest thing is with the breath is awareness, and having that connection to the body. Once you've started doing that, and it doesn't take long, I've seen people literally in a few weeks. Then when the stressors come along, you kind of catch yourself. So it might be, oh yeah, I was mouth breathing then, or oh my gosh, I've stopped breathing completely, which is really common now because we're holding on to everything. We can't let it go. So we can start bringing our awareness, and with that, there's more breath awareness, and with that, that's the sensations in the body that we're more aware of, and knowing that just with a couple of simple techniques, you can shift your state and shift the state of your nervous system.
So, because there's a book I read once, I'm sure you've read it, called, I think it's called Breathe or Breath. And what I really was fascinated by that was how they did the experiment where they blocked up somebody's nose. I think it was over 2 weeks, and the person got really, really ill. So can you talk a little bit about that? What goes on between mouth breathing and nose breathing? Why we need to make a distinction as to why one can be actually quite serious?
So, I mean, there's a saying now that, the mouth is for eating, the nose is for breathing. But we have a lot of people have become mouth breathers over time. Can be a whole host of reasons for this, but why should we be breathing through the nose? That's probably a good place to start. So there's a whole host of benefits from breathing through the nose. First of all, It helps filter all the rubbish from the air. We've got these tiny little hairs on the inside of our nose, so they do an amazing job
Or can I just
of
say
that.
lots of hair in the case of men?
Okay,
It's sort of
lots of hair.
I don't know
Varying,
what the hair goes from the head, right? And then as you
it
get
goes
older, it
into
comes out your
ears and
ears and it
nose.
comes out your nose. I'm thinking, God, you're really cruel.
Just think of all the stuff you're filtering from the air
And from my head.
and your head.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
Very
go
nice.
on.
So it filters all the stuff from the air. It also, breathing through the nose as well, it adds moisture to the air. So at certain times of the year, we know in the summer when it's quite dry air, again in the winter where it's quite cold and dry, breathing through the nose will really, really help that. If we are breathing through the mouth, all of that stuff, the pollutants are just getting into our respiratory system. There's a couple of reasons to breathe through the nose. The other reason, we've got this amazing gas called nitric oxide in our nasal cavity. So just simply breathing through the nose, you have that nitric oxide, which acts as a vasodilator. So that can help open everything up. So some huge benefits of breathing through the nose. Breathing through the nose as well, we naturally, without shifting where we're breathing into in the body, it draws the breath down that little bit lower into our belly. So we're getting more oxygen, we're getting more bang for our buck with the breath. Breathing through the nose is so important. When we look at as well people that have asthma, people that are suffering with respiratory issues, people that have allergies, all of those things, I cannot stress it enough. It's really important that we shift to nasal, but it can feel really challenging for somebody that has only ever mouth breathed. So again, we work with that client, we look at what the starting point is and give them tools and support to help shift them from mouth breathing to nasal. And actually on that point as well, sleep apnea, snoring. I mean, it's a lot of husbands and wives and partners are like tearing their hair out going, oh, for God's sake, this is just awful. Mouth breathing often, if we are snorers, sleep apnea, we are mouth breathing. So what we would do again, I worked with a chap the other day, he came in for more of the more transformational work, so conscious connected breath work, but mentioned at the end, actually, do you know what, I snore? I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that. So yeah, it's huge. And he messaged me just after one session saying his partner couldn't believe how much his snoring had reduced just in one session.
So we're talking about nose breathing and mouth breathing. And so do you think that there's a lot of stuff where people hold their breath? It's almost like if you see somebody get a shock, they go like that and they hold it. And then is that what's going on there with the mouth breathing?
Well, mouth breathing typically it's putting more of a stress on our nervous system. If we even do it now, if we take a couple of breaths in through the mouth and then take 2 breaths in through the nose and just see what happens within the body.
That's it's I've never done that, in 30 years in practice, I've never done that. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really good. I'm glad you didn't load me for that or like preload, right? Because as soon as I did breath, I'll tell my kind of people who aren't watching this on YouTube but are listening, I'll explain what happened. So I breathed in. I'd encourage them to do it as well, actually. It's so funny as well. I feel like laughing as well because it's like I feel like I'm really stupid. I didn't notice that.
You just got to listen to what's happening with the body, right? And it tells us everything we need to know.
So I breathed in through the mouth, and I'll do it again. So first of all, the first thing that happened was my breath felt restricted. My shoulders came up, which is really interesting. So yeah, my shoulders came up. It creates quite a panicky
Exactly, you've got it.
feeling, doesn't it? And then I go nose. Yeah, calms you right down and it goes to the belly. Wow. So does that mean, so let's say, for example, because I've been guilty of snoring in the past and I did the taping method as well, but does that mean essentially if you mouth breathe, let's say you go to sleep and you go into REM cycle and that and you mouth breathe, that's the potential then to actually wake up feeling quite anxious then?
So that as well, but what actually happens when we're breathing, well, with sleep apnea, let's say, or snoring, when we're breathing through the mouth, we've got these muscles kind of at the back that kind of, with sleep apnea, they just fold down. So it's that we're in a deep sleep, and then it's that kind of fright, panic. Oh God, I've stopped breathing. So that's cranking up your nervous system because your body thinks, geez, I'm not breathing. So the stressor on the body is huge for that. The other thing is with snoring and sleep apnea is we are constantly waking ourselves up. So we're not having that restful, deep, lovely sleep. What's also happening is when we're waking up in the morning, not only are people saying that they don't feel refreshed, but often they're really, really thirsty, because when we're mouth breathing, and if you see people falling asleep on the train or on the plane with their mouths open, dribbling and things, it's dehydrating. So they're waking up, haven't rested properly, kind of in and out of sleep, frustrating the hell out of their partners at the same time, and waking up really, really thirsty. So when we can optimize our breath in our day-to-day life, not only is that going to then benefit and get you breathing better at sleep, but then it's going to get you breathing better and performing better when we're doing physical activity. So I work with such a cross-section of people, from, kids, quite young children that are struggling with anxiety, but panicky, through to people that are going through really difficult transitions within their lives. A lot with perimenopause and menopause now. The simple, when we look at the science side of things, as women, as we're going through perimenopause and menopause, we become more sensitive to carbon dioxide. In very, very simple terms, what that means is we are more prone to anxiety and panic.
Wow.
Feeling that tightness in our chest, I know, right?
Explain that to me a bit. I mean, that's fascinating to
Yeah,
me. So can we talk, because there's a lot of, I get a lot of, obviously men and women listen to this, but there's a big change now in consciousness awareness of menopause, perimenopause, and really look, I'm fast. Can you go a little bit more into that?
Yeah. So throughout our cycles anyway, as our estrogen and progesterone levels are fluctuating, but even more so in perimenopause. So what happens with that is we tend to become more sensitive to carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the kind of our catalyst to breathe. So when we become more sensitive to it, what we naturally do is we breathe, we may revert to mouth breathing. We're certainly going to be breathing more breaths per minute. So what we're doing naturally is our breaths might be slightly shorter, higher in the chest, mouth breathing. So all of these things are putting, not only have we got a sensitivity to CO2, but it's having quite a significant effect on how we're breathing. So through functional breath work, as I mentioned, we're kind of re-educating the breath. So what we do very slowly is we look at shifting the awareness, encouraging safety within the body, but encouraging people to breathe slower, to pendulate between those feelings of kind of the charge in the body, the relaxation. And actually very, very quickly, when we can do this, our sensitivity to this decreases. We're breathing much better. We're feeling much calmer. We're less cranked up into a kind of a hyper aroused sympathetic state all of the time. And again, we're able to deal with these internal stresses, whether that's hormone fluctuations or whether that's external stressors. With women within those life stages, there's often a lot of other things going on. So we might have children, they might be at school age, they might be going off to university. We're dealing with the changes within our own bodies, which can feel quite a lot, and we can feel quite isolated a lot of the time as well. We can be dealing with changes in marriages, elderly parents, all of these things. So there are lots of things going on. So if we can support the body through the breath. As I mentioned, it's the quickest and most effective way to shift our state. It really is incredible working with the function, also the day-to-day breath, and then shifting and working more on the somatic, the emotional side of things that we're storing into the body as well.
So sometimes do you get people that have an emotional connection to, say, a trauma in childhood, and they have a pattern related to that, and then they go into teenage years, almost like I don't want to say split personality, but a breathing personality according to how we respond?
Yeah, so you see this time and time again. What can happen is the situation can be different, but let's say the feeling in the body can be the same. So let's take, I don't know, say we are 13 years old and we're sitting an exam, let's say for an instance, a test, and our body, and we freeze. We go into a freeze response. Our mind goes blank. We can't think what the hell we're doing. The panic rises, the adrenaline, all of these feelings. It's terrifying. We go away from that situation. Let's fast forward 10 years or whatever, and we are getting ready to prepare, let's say in an interview, another exam. Different situation, but the response that we are getting to, or the feeling in the body, the reaction in the body is the same as that so many years ago. How we work on the somatic side of things as well is connecting with these feelings, enabling the body to feel, the fear, the anger, whatever these emotions are, and the sensations in the body, being able to use the breath to pendulate between these charges and the calmer states, and recognizing and teaching our bodies that we're actually safe. It's huge. So history does kind of repeat itself really, unless we have the awareness and we do the work. But you notice difference very quickly.
And how many, if we're looking at session wise, and people come to you, what's the sort of average that someone would engage your services?
Yeah, so it varies on, I'd say on the functional breathing side of things, three to 5 sessions-ish. If somebody comes in who is, committed, they come in, they do a session, I'll put together a home care plan for them. What I would do is get that so it's easy to integrate into their day. If somebody goes away and is doing that, we might have a follow-up appointment in a couple of weeks, look at how the body's responding, what's going on, any changes, maybe give them some different things to look at home, to challenge them a little bit more. So it might be 3 to 5 sessions with that, depending on what's going on for you, how dysfunctional your breathing pattern is, and how you're integrating into, like, after the sessions. Then with the conscious connected breathwork and TRE, having one session, you will feel the difference, as you would do having one session with functional, because you're bringing greater awareness there. But typically with more transformational sessions, again, it might be 3 sessions that somebody might have. I work with a lot of people if they're working with quite a lot of complex trauma, let's say, a lot of childhood stuff that can come up. It might be that we do a few sessions closer together initially, and that might be a combination of, okay, so I'm having panic attacks or feeling anxious, but I've also got a lot going on emotionally. So usually how I'd work is we'd have a free discovery call, so to discuss what's going on for them, how I can support them, and then work out a kind of a bespoke plan for them really. It might be, okay, so the anxiety or the snoring, kind of we address that first of all. So it might be we do a couple of functional sessions just to get you feeling better in your body, get you feeling more grounded, connected, safer, and more in control. I think that's the big thing. When we're having panic or anxiety, it can feel really, really scary. and you just think, this is it now. I've got this for life.
And
It
how does
might
it work? How does it work in terms of like for example, we're doing this call here and we're sort of seeing from here to here. So you can do this, I presume, by doing it on like we're doing it now, for example. It doesn't have to be in person.
Yeah, no, I do. I work with in person and on Zoom as well. Some people purely it's a distance thing, so it's just not convenient to come to East Sussex. Other people with more of the transformational sessions say, do you know what? I just like being in my bed and I don't want to get in the car for 20 minutes afterwards. I'm like, whatever works for you.
I do that with the
Yeah,
hypnosis thing. They don't want to get up and they go, "Can I just stay here?" And I go, "Oh, I'm
yeah.
really sorry, but I got another client."
Yeah, but you can do that at home. Yeah, so what we would
Mm.
do is we would just slightly different for us because we've only got the section
This
of
is
us
what I'm
showing.
saying. It's like,
Yeah.
would they need to stand back so that if you're doing it like a Zoom or something like that?
Yeah, so what we would do, it was just get the positioning right
Okay.
of the cameras beforehand. Some of the exercises I might do, get them to kind of stand up. So yeah, we just position the cameras. But I've, have a number of clients that only see me on Zoom. It's an interesting dynamic as well because actually when COVID hit and that taught us a lot, but it forced a lot online. I'm not going to lie, I was just thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to do the more transformational breath work online. I just, it's a tangible thing.
Mm.
You can work with touch, you can see the body, you can see the breath. I was astounded by how impactful it was on Zoom. So yes, of course, I love working with people in person, but for functional and more of the conscious connected, the transformational breath work can definitely be done on Zoom. TRE can be done on Zoom as well. With TRE, because we do a number of exercises beforehand, we're standing up. So again, it might be a little bit of positioning of the camera, but yeah, it's all workable.
And does it work? Does it work better one to one? I mean, like some things, especially if there's emotion coming up, is better than one to one or groups. I mean, there's like a cut. Do you ever work with couples for any reason?
Yeah, so are we talking about groups online or just groups
Just
in general?
groups in general, yeah.
So I love doing group work. I love one-to-ones, but I think with group work, there's something really beautiful about people coming to the session, all for different reasons, especially when there's the opportunity to share afterwards, people feeling validated, people feeling they're open, able to open up, people saying, oh God, do you know what? That was me. I felt like that. Not feeling alone. It's magical. And actually, I did a private group transformational breathwork session for 4 guy personal trainers a few weeks ago, and that was amazing. Completely different dynamic. So yeah, I love doing group work. Couples, yes, I've worked with. That can be really interesting because in a couple setting, sometimes the natural go-to can be, especially in the more when we're releasing a lot in more of the transformational breath work, sometimes there can be the natural wanting to reach out and comfort. That can be a slight sticking point. But then again, being able to share what's gone on for them afterwards can be amazing. I would say the most profound group session that I have done like that when we're talking with partners and family, I had a mother and daughter, a grown-up mother and daughter came to a few of my group breathwork sessions. And the things that they were sharing afterwards, it's making me feel a bit emotional talking about it now, was just beautiful. And they were able to grow and heal their own sort of generational trauma that was coming up. And they had such a positive experience. They then got their wider family to come in. So I had the grandchildren, them, their partners. It was just
I think when you have
Amazing.
transformational trauma, like you say, it's incredible because we all go through phases with our children. Our children at some point have to not like us because they realize we're human, and
Hmm.
things like that. They go. So how do we reach out to you? Because obviously, I said this goes worldwide. So what is the best way if people want to have that discovery call? How do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can reach me on Instagram. I'm Breathwork with Nina. I've also got a website, and that's breathworkwithnina.com. Um, just reach out to me on either of those. As I mentioned, I offer a free discovery call. So if anything on this chat's kind of resonated with anybody, if anybody's got any questions, certainly on the breathwork side of things, breathwork is, and I probably should have mentioned this at the start, but breathwork is a bit of an umbrella term to describe a whole host of techniques and exercises which influence your state. So whether it's functional breathing that's for you, or maybe it's more of the transformational breath work, we can have an initial chat. We can talk about the key things that are going on for you, where you might need the support, and we can work out a plan kind of going forwards, whether that's Zoom sessions, in person, a combination. Yeah, we can just go from there. But I think a free discovery call is a really good way just to find out if it's the right fit for people. And also, I work with a lot of people with complex health conditions. So actually, just discussing those and seeing whether it's an okay fit for them, and yeah, just giving them the support that they need.
Okay, and also if people want to talk to me in relation to Nina and reaching out, they can also go via that, go zenfootsteps@gmail.com, and I'm more than happy, Nina, to pass on, all those flood of people going to be coming towards you. So, okay, so we have a tradition
Lovely.
here, and I'm sure you know, and I always hope that people do remember when to say this. We always have a tradition to end the show on Zen Footsteps by saying, "What is your favorite quote, and why?" Okay,
Okay,
so
so
what is it?
there's quite a few, but
Yeah,
this one I think is a really profound one. So,
okay,
unless you learn to face your own shadows, you will keep seeing them in others, because the world outside of you is only a reflection of the world inside of you.
that's
So
so profound.
it's so profound, and actually
Mhm.
it can feel quite uncomfortable because
Very.
it's not all rainbows and flowers. It's
Mhm.
important with us that we are embracing, the parts of us which we like, and also the parts of us that actually are a little bit uncomfortable as well, the shadow. And
It's true.
with somatic work, we work with both.
It's hard,
Um,
isn't it? Because I find that sometimes if I have a reaction to somebody, like let's say somebody calls you a really horrible thing, okay, and you don't react, that's probably because you're okay with it. But if you react, it's often because there's something you need to look at. It could be just an injustice, that's fine, but it could be your reaction is because other people have said things and you didn't fight and stand up for yourself. It could be that. But I always think the bigger the reaction in you, is something you have to go away and look at. And I presume with breath work, that's quite good because do you ever work with clients and you're looking at them and you say something to them and then you suddenly notice a shift in their breath and you try to gently go, did you notice what you did there?
yeah, so it's depending on the type of breath work we're doing. If somebody's laying down doing conscious connected, I would be saying things to them throughout the session. Generally, they'll have their eyes closed, but I'll be able to see and feel what's going on with the body. So it might be that I notice something is coming up from something that I've said or I've noticed. So again, without the need for words. Or it might be we're doing a check-in at the beginning of the functional session, and again, you just see something tighten up, and it's just the body not feeling safe, or
Mm.
we hold a lot of other people's beliefs and thoughts in our own body, right? So from a very early age, somebody might have said something in the playground. They might have just said, oh, you I don't know what it could be.
Yeah.
You're
Your dresses.
purple.
Yeah,
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 yeah, or whatever.
yeah.
And then there's a part of you that then takes that on. And over the years, other people's beliefs, although they might not know what the hell they're talking about, they might have had a really bad day, they might just be an angry person. Some of these beliefs become our own. And this is why this work is, it is so important, because we hold on to these limiting beliefs that often just aren't ours. And when we work with the breath, when we work with TRE, we're releasing what the body is holding on to, and the memories that are being held on into the body, which often are not particularly helpful. And
Yeah,
can
they're quite profound, aren't they? Because we run this pattern of, there's a good expression I like, which is live your own life, otherwise one day you wake up and find you're living somebody else's.
Yes.
But it's very difficult to do that, because I think what happens to a lot of people is they try to bring us down to their level to justify their belief system of life. And breaking away from somebody else's definition of you can be very, very difficult. And once you break away from that definition of you, you have to sometimes make a really tough choice, and that maybe that person, you wish them well, but they can't be in your life. And that can be a hard one, because you can reflect and go, at some point in my life, yes, that was good, but now it's no longer appropriate. And that's very difficult, because we can get stuck into that pattern. And I could imagine with breath work as well, especially, that we can get used to a negative person being in our life, but we could get used to negative way of breathing, and that becomes almost like in a funny way, a friend to us.
Yeah.
And to release that way of breathing, that could be quite difficult for some people, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. It's just that cycle
Yeah.
that we keep following. But the good thing is, if you are struggling, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, any one of those things, or all of those things, that you're not on your own, that you can improve the way that you are feeling. And breath work and TRE are hugely powerful modalities to support you where you're at now, and that transition. But yeah, it's also difficult, if we're in very toxic relationships. That can be, partners, that can be family members, that can be work, all of these things. Then it can feel quite a scary place to be, and losing sight of who you are as well. But from personal experience, and working, having the the opportunity to work with so many wonderful people, I just see time and time again that this is really powerful work.
Yeah.
And it really can make lasting change. It's not just oh, we'll just do this now, and
Yeah.
you're not really going to see the benefits. You do. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just wanted to end on the sort of thing somebody once said to me, which you can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, but only 3 minutes without breath. And I think breath is the fundamental. So, listen, thank you. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. I'm going to get this out as soon as possible. I've known you for a while, but I've learned a lot, and I really like that. I love it when you know somebody and then you get to know them. Actually, it's interesting when people come on my show, I think I know them better all the time. But listen, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thanks once again for for coming on the show.
Pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.